Welcome to VidMark, a podcast to give you the video marketing knowledge to always hit the mark. Let us help build your confidence with video strategy and content creation best practices. Join us weekly for pro tips and guest interviews as we explore the powerful communication tool of video. It's time to boost your business. Let's talk video. I'm joined today by a very special guest, Eric Croswell from Bridge City Media and also Bridge City Entrepreneurs, which is one of his groups. So if you're in the Portland area, feel free to reach out to Bridge City Entrepreneurs on Facebook. And yeah, Eric, thanks for joining me. And part of the reason I wanted to bring you on the show is you're a video producer in the Portland area as well. And I wanted to just pick your brain about video marketing, what's it like in the industry, just have a good chat about all things video. So thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm stoked to be here and I appreciate the invite.
Definitely. What are things looking like right now for in the video world for you and for the fall?
Yeah, from my experience, we essentially just do business videos, like about videos, promos, and fall time has always been the busiest time of year. I think there's just this mindset that is instilled since school years of like, it's back to school, it's time to go, something new, and so that's how a lot of companies have been like treating like marketing budgets, and they're like, all right, time to start new initiatives, time to get the ball rolling on something else, time to start preparing for the following year. So we've been doing a pretty wide array of content for different types of industries for the time being, just redefining messages, and like startups are now launching products, things like that.
Yeah. So you guys heard it here. If you are not already getting the ball rolling for the fall, like now is a good time to start doing that. Launching products. Are there any things that you're seeing people do in particular? I mean, this is just like kind of a random question, but for like this fall versus like say what people do during the summer, during the springtime, or is it just because it's like a new quarter, people are just kind of getting, things prepared for 2021?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this year in general has shifted a lot of how people are choosing to do their messaging. I think that it started to see a lot of it, of course, like at the onset of COVID, but now as people are getting into that fall mindset of starting new initiatives and taking the opportunity to do some rebranding, they're, in comparison to other years, they're not so much like, get it here now, this deal, like limited time, kind of like simple promo kind of stuff. It's more centered on like heartfelt narratives of like, this is who we are. This is like why we are showing up for our community in this way. This is like what we're doing for like health protocols, safety, look at us, we're wearing masks. Look at us, we're treating our employees well. We're like really taking a stance for like diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're seeing a lot more of that when companies are trying to update their messaging this time.
Totally. Yeah. It kind of sounds like, because of COVID and a lot of the, happenings from this summer, that like people are starting to take a holistic approach to their media and their content and making sure that like, how is this going to be perceived? And like, is this an empathetic piece for, the group at large?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, of course, there's still like companies are going to do their like general commercials for stuff, but I'd say that most of what we've been called in to do now has not been so like salesy, and is just people trying to like work through and like figure out what people actually even want to listen to and want to view and would feel like fine about having that targeted to them on an ad campaign or like pop up on a website. There's been like a lot of rethinking, so it's not so like formulaic this time around, but there's certainly like a higher demand for it.
Totally. Yeah. It's really interesting that like during this time, what I've been hearing from people is the things that like used to work, pre-COVID don't really work as well today. And so having to shift that model and, I guess just to give everyone a background, I don't know if I gave you a good enough or, a strong introduction. Do you want to just tell people in a nutshell, kind of like what service offerings you guys have for people, just to let them know? I mean, I mentioned video, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean we're video. We try to carve out that as just our standalone niche. We do video content for companies. We'll do like a lot of front to end service for that. So like the writing of the story, producing, post production, consulting as to like where are you going to put the video and when and why and how and tagging and uploading and all that jazz. And then also we will coordinate very regularly with other marketing companies in town or in different parts of the country that need just video content, and we'll kind of do subcontracted work through them.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys produce great work. Everyone, like, pause the podcast right now, go check out their website, bridgecitymedia.com, and you guys can learn a little bit more about them and see some of the great work that you guys do. Okay. So I think that's helpful for people to get kind of an idea. You guys do everything from, concept to, cradle to grave, or, from beginning to end. Yeah. So what, any like favorite projects that you guys have done lately that you think, audience might think is kind of cool?
Yeah, I mean, we just actually wrapped today a project that we've been working on for a little while now. It's for a tech startup called Minnow, and it's something that it has shifted significantly since the onset of COVID. So it is a food pod. So it's essentially like a vending machine almost that people would be able to pick up their lunch from through like access through their phone. This is a conversation that we had like back in December this past year. And the way that we were going to approach it was significantly different than what actually ended up happening when we filmed it this summer. So now they've shifted their business model to try and be like a very important and timely solution for restaurants that are now desperately trying to stay open and adapt their models to be able to still service off like their offerings to customers, especially in cities like Portland, where the rain is going to shut down all patio seating, that like more and more time and attention and efficiency and fluidity is going to need to be put into the delivery process. So we got the chance to film essentially like 2 stories of like along the same method of like, like a less dramatized, like, has this ever happened to you kind of scenario of like someone being like frustrated and like missing an order and then like going in and then like picking it up and upsetting their coworkers. But then the Minnow pod comes in and then it's like a much like happier scenario for both parties and stuff like that. So, and we got to like showcase that like all the masks and like the importance of like touching things and how like this technology is cutting that down significantly. So it's a good investment. So it was a pretty smart way to take the approach of building this narrative of like adapting to the times and being careful about health and safety of others, as well as still being like very much a promotional video.
Totally. Yeah, you have to be very conscious of that with a lot of the filming. Yeah, I know I've had to pull footage out of certain videos just because people weren't socially distant or people weren't wearing masks. And you're like, I'm curious, like how long, like I think we've moved into like a new level of like, safety and security. So like these protocols, I would imagine will still be in place for the next, year or two. Just throwing some predictions out there.
Yeah.
And so I'm just thinking like, yeah, it's important for businesses to be paying attention to that now. And then as we transition out, but there's still like kind of good, things to live by. Like, if you're sick, stay at home. If you're, you should be washing your hands frequently. Like it would eradicate a lot of, diseases in general, or not eradicate, but it would lessen them. Yeah, so that's like something to kind of keep in mind throughout that process. And I like that you guys talked about like kind of the story aspect of it. Like how did that process come together?
Yeah, I mean, like all things, we're pretty flexible with how we go about building out a narrative. So this is something that was brought to us of like, here's the general outline of something we're kind of thinking about from the client, and then we custom tailored to that to be like, all right, like what are we working with? What's your budget? Who do we have available? All right. And actually we can't have like a fully packed restaurant. Like we can have 3 people in a restaurant if we like take a moment and actually like show people being like 6 to 8 feet apart, you know? So there's like a lot of elements that we like help guide that process along with. But then, and then of course, like making it match up with general like vision of the client, as well as being like, all right, we know kind of like from a marketing perspective that we cannot spend 45 seconds with the did this ever happen to you, you know? We can spend maybe 15 seconds about that, and then we got to get on to actually like showing the product. So there's just like little elements like that that are important for us to like help with the tweaking process to build out a narrative.
Totally. And I like that you think about it like kind of in, the amount of seconds it takes to get into the good stuff. Cause 15 seconds, or like if it's 30 seconds just to get into it, you can maybe lose people's interest, or like keeping, a very concise story in today's like social media. I would imagine this piece might go on like Instagram or something like that. And so people are going to be scrolling and you'll need to catch their attention pretty quick.
Yeah. And our attention spans are garbage. They're just getting worse and worse and worse. And so like, we've had it be where like even just like the opening shot is something like important of like, all right, like just doing like testing campaigns of like past videos. It's like, all right, let's show a salon and have like the first clip be them like cutting hair, or have the first clip being like them opening a door and then like beckoning with their hand up toward you. And like that just gets like a much higher rate of watching and stuff. So there's like all these little elements that we're able to learn over time, how to hang out with like that first 5-second extremely vital chunk of time to keep people's attention, or the opening segments of a video.
A big thank you to our sponsors over at songtub.com. That's right, song or music and a tub, like a bath, but more fun to say. Tub. Anyway, you can check out Songtub's website for any of your music needs. In fact, the song playing in the background right now is from Songtub. So why pick them over anyone else? Well, they curate the music. And I know the guys, so that means I know that they're selecting great music for your project. A lot of other companies will brag about how many songs they have, maybe 100,000, 200,000, maybe even 1 million. But honestly, I don't have time for that. I don't have the time to just sit down and go next, a song not so great, trying to figure out where the best music is. Songtub.com, great place to get your music. And now I'm excited to offer you the first month for free if you go to songtub.com/pro, P-R-O, and we have a promo code for you. Yes, that's right, my name, your host, Bryan, B-R-Y-A-N, and that will give you your first month free to have access to a huge music library that you can use towards your next video project, podcast, or any of your general audio needs. Anyway, back to the show. So you guys are hearing it. Like, there's a lot more thought that like goes into video than just, pressing the record button. Like thinking about all these different elements, and like even the psychology behind it is really fascinating too. Like you mentioned, opening that door. That's kind of, you think of a customer that's like, for them, that's a very similar experience. It's also like opening a door. Like you can get meta with it, be like opening a door to new opportunities. And then seeing a person is like so eye-catching, especially like in the video world, versus like showing like nature or shots of other things, but having that human connection by being able to like see facial expressions and things like that really go a long way.
Oh yeah, something I've noticed. It's not something that like we've like dived into much yet, but a lot of like these Facebook videos that are trying to push like viral following, they will often have in their thumbnail, as you scroll past before the video starts doing any autoplay, just like a split second of like an attractive person looking really surprised, and then it starts off with like just someone like walking through a house, and then you're like, whoa, what's gonna happen? Like if I watch this person walk through this house, then they're gonna be like extremely surprised later on. I got to see what that thumbnail was about. So
yeah. And that's, and that's like the big difference between like, I think a regular like person putting together a video versus like hiring a professional is like even the thumbnail you have to take into consideration because that's a big part of how people, you know, find the work. So that's pretty cool. I haven't seen, I guess it shows like the first couple seconds. And if you wanted, showing that facial expression and then having like the promise kind of to the audience, like, hey, there's going to be some kind of shock or awe factor to this video at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like the microsecond trailer, you know,
Totally.
for the grand premiere.
So that's definitely like a trend that's happening this year. Is there anything else you're kind of seeing, or any predictions for 2021? You think? I mean, from a lot of things I read, it like videos on the climb, on the up and up, and kind of a main way that people go to get their information. You know, they'll go to YouTube and watch a how-to video. I've been trying to get people to put more of their videos like on the like kind of the main pages of your website, not tucking them away. So I think a couple of years ago, people would maybe put videos on, you know, the deeper about pages or explaining some kind of, you know, scenario, but really putting it at the forefront of a website can be pretty powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of interesting because like video gives us this opportunity to, with a website, track how people are guiding their way through the navigation of a page. So you can intentionally have a video like 3 scrolls in, and you can monitor like, all right, they like stopped on this page at this point and they were on it for like 25 seconds, which means they watched that video, which is great. And then they went to another page and stuff. So like, it's good to like even placing it on like the about page at the top versus like the front page, like at the, like near the bottom of the page, like that can be part of the strategy for like guiding your viewer to push them toward a specific call to action on your page, and then like tracking that along. So it's pretty interesting just how much video has become hyper integrated with any and all digital marketing efforts. So like if you're trying to like get web traffic or you're trying to do like any sense of advertising, like even if the whole point of the video isn't necessarily to like get that sale, it can help immensely with just understanding like the analytics of how people are coming to get a relationship with your company, and like first tracking through their interest in working with you.
Totally. Yeah, I think you bring up good points of like, strategy, or like it's very strategic about where this video is placed on a website. And yeah, it's not always closing a sale. Sometimes, it's the educational part of, hey, maybe you learned a little bit more. And I think a lot of people maybe will visit a website many times before making a decision, or maybe they'll go check you out on social media. And so having video mixed in with like your Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of that really gives it some variety. And I know I see like a lot of good traffic on like LinkedIn. You post a video there, and it usually gets like not always a ton of engagement. That kind of just depends on how good the video is or what the call to action is. But you know that people are seeing it. At least I'm seeing that from the analytics.
Yeah, and I think that's part of that too. Is just like LinkedIn is a business, and Facebook and Instagram are a business, and Google is a business that owns YouTube, and like all of them want to, as like their models is they want to have people like hang out on their platforms for as long as possible. And so now LinkedIn is really tapping into that if you post a video native to LinkedIn, then they incentivize putting that in the feed for any and all of your followers or the people that you're boosting or like promoting it out to, because it gives more value for that platform, because then people are going to hang out on LinkedIn for longer. So like, LinkedIn and now Pinterest are just like excellent places to like start putting video out, because they are now trying to like hyper compete with like Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Google now in the same vein of like getting into the mindset of like, okay, LinkedIn is a place that I can go to like watch videos.
Yeah. And they know that like, video content just works. And like you said, you're able to get someone to stick around for maybe like 25, 30 seconds longer than they normally would have, because people can skim through text pretty quickly, and images, I think people just kind of gloss over, but video, you actually kind of have to, you can click around, but I think most people are pressing play at the beginning and kind of watching it through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty interesting. You're seeing, yeah, all these guys are starting to compete with each other. So, or like, not starting to, but they've always competed. But with Pinterest, you think of like they have to put together these strategies of what's going to get people to stick around longer. And yeah, it makes me excited to be doing video. I guess I haven't even asked you, like, how long have you been doing video for? Is like, you know, when you were in high school or college or?
Yeah, I mean, I started out just like borrowing my parents' camcorder and like going out in the woods and like making zombie movies with my friends and stuff like that. So definitely started out with like the independent film route. Went through college to like do marketing and then kind of came out into like the marketing advertising world a little bit just after college. But of course, like film has always been the passion. And so started doing Bridge City Media a little more than 4 years ago now. And it was a lot of trial and error. I had no idea what I was doing at first. Just like the prospect of like owning and starting a business was such a learning curve for me, even going through the business program. I think just like entrepreneurship is just not generally taught very well, at least in the programs that I had access to in school. But
Same. I didn't even know it was an option until like after I graduated. I was like, oh, I guess I could try to do this.
yeah, I had such great advice for like writing out resumes and like interviews and stuff like that. But then like I had no idea how to like start a new business or start a new project or like reach out to potential clients. And a lot of it is like very similar as far as like it's kind of like you're constantly getting jobs
Mm-hmm.
by like getting new clients and then like running a business and stuff, but it's just not like taught or framed in that way.
Yeah, because I know what you mean, because it is like an interview process. Like when you're working with a client, like, yeah, you're interviewing each other, but I feel like it's just a different kind of relationship than like you're kind of on equal playing field. Whereas when you're working for someone else, you're like subservient to them.
Mm.
Whereas like they're kind of coming to you because they see that you're, good provider of this service, like you're respectable in the community, like they want to do business with you. Whereas, if you work for someone else, you're kind of, yeah, at the mercy of what they want to do and what they want to pay you. And it's just very different dynamic. And I'm with you. I don't think they set a lot of people up for entrepreneurship, but I would say, small business and entrepreneurship is definitely really a lot easier to do in this country than it is in a lot of other countries. So I don't know why they don't provide that as like more of an option for people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still something people are figuring out.
Totally.
Yeah, and I think that we frequently try to write textbooks on it and like sell each other on these like miracle formula processes and stuff like that, but it changes every few years. And now that we're living in this like ultra future world information age that people can't necessarily even like keep up with, like the rules are like super different. So
I know. Yeah, technology is like moving so quickly, and who knows where we'll be like in like 5-10 years. Maybe I mean, actually, you have some ideas of where things are going, where it's like, yeah, more digital, obviously, but like virtual reality of some of these other things, 360 video. I remember when this is just me going off on a tangent, but I remember when the first like 360 video came out, and I was like, I gotta like get a GoPro and like get all into it because I thought that was like the way things were going. But yeah, what were your thoughts? Like, do you think 360 video is pretty cool or kind of a fad?
Totally. Actually, yeah. Get a little VR.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, I love 360 video. I love like VR. I think it's really just, it's like the next big thing. And so I definitely had like similar thoughts when it was starting, like especially when they started to adapt people's like phones that you could just do like you Google Cardboard. I thought that was like super gonna catch on, but
I think the
at the same
cardboard, I
time,
bought
it's
one.
exhausting,
Yeah.
It takes a lot of energy to like fully submit because that's essentially what you're doing. And I think that we already kind of like submit to how we do like our natural like scroll on our phones, but it's this semblance of like, okay, well, like I'm very much in control here
Yeah.
and
And you
stuff. But
still
then
have
when
like
you're in VR, you're like, all right, I am like completely committing to whatever the ride is, you know?
totally. Yeah, you're kind of like immersed into it and you're kind of vulnerable to a degree. Like you can't see, like you're so into it, like you kind of forget that there's a world outside of what you're in. And so like someone could come up and like, do
Yeah.
something like kind of, not mean, where like, play a prank on you or something. You would never know. But yeah, I think it's been interesting. I think people are still, at least I know for myself speaking, like when it's those 360 videos on like YouTube, I'm kind of too lazy to like click around to like move it. But when it's in VR, it's like, oh, I can turn my head easy enough. And yeah, I think that's just going to keep developing. When you're talking about the cardboard, I thought it was going to catch on too. I bought one and I think they didn't catch on because they're not very comfortable. The set that you have there looks really comfortable.
Yeah, it's like a gamer, kind of set. It's a Oculus Quest, but yeah, that's pretty cool because I think the big change for that is that like it has like that hand motion control as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you can even like gives you virtual hands and you can flex your fingers differently, and you can like interact and actually like touch buttons on things. So
Yeah.
it feels like a
And
much
pick
more like
things up
comfortable
and
place
stuff, right?
to hang out. Yeah. So, yeah, I would love to jump more into that world, and I fully intend to.
I think it's still a little premature.
I've never filmed any like 360 video actually.
Yeah.
Other than just taking like a 360 like photo on vacation in Europe at a square, all that kind of stuff. But
Totally. Yeah, I think it's still a little bit in the early stages. Like it's not even really easy to film and create content in that space yet. Like the average consumer can't just create virtual reality content. But once it like becomes more accessible, it'll be interesting to see how things go. Because there's definitely gonna be people marketing in that space. Yeah. I was gonna go on another tangent. I'm hoping to bring like a guest on who will be able to speak a little bit more to that. But anyway, yeah, one day we'll be able to create like some content around that. And getting back to the video, what is like one thing that businesses could probably like do today to make an improvement or like take like one step forward? Like what's a big missed opportunity you think businesses are doing that's like kind of maybe low hanging fruit or just an easy possibility for them?
Yeah, I think to give kind of an annoying answer is that it depends, right?
Yep.
But I think a really like maybe a good rule of thumb of it is just to be like take stock of yourself, of like how you interact with different platforms, like what you like, what you don't like, what annoys you, what doesn't annoy you, and then like really just tap into that thought process. You're probably not different than other people in this. Maybe like ask a couple people's like opinions, but I don't think you necessarily have to go into this like deep dive of analytics and following these formulas of stuff. I think that just if you are looking to make video for your company, just try to be very aware and cognizant of like what do people actually care about and what do people actually like want to listen to and see. And if you're going to put it on your website versus like Facebook versus Instagram versus LinkedIn versus Pinterest versus, like a YouTube channel, like it's going to be
overwhelming.
it's actually going to be very different,
it's
going to be very different for like each and every platform and stuff. And so like when I know that for myself, like when I go through Facebook, I actually don't want to watch like very well produced content. I know that like my brain is immediately like, this is an advertiser.
Commercial. Yeah.
I don't care about this. This is like an annoying thing that I have to like sift through. But what a lot of people have been adapting to is like even like larger companies just creating content of, someone like filming on an iPhone and like interacting with a product and then like being happy with it. And it doesn't have a specific sales pitch or whatever, but it just like shows an example of like some kind of use with something, and then it like moves on and like maybe gives like a tiny logo or something like that. And that's actually like sometimes significantly more effective than like big budget, like very well produced content. you know, that would be better used for like TV ads or a website, you know, when people are like vetting you to see like how professional you might be. So
yeah, you got to kind of cater to the audience, cater to like where they're viewing the content. Whereas like, some of those platforms, it's like more of that raw, authentic. And that's been something I've been having to like work through too. Like as somebody that like is in the video world, I'm like, like, does every piece need to be a reflection of like my video like abilities? And so it's hard to like, not use like the equipment, but it would save me so much more time doing like working from my phone for some videos. I think it's kind of like having a mixture of both of them. Like maybe you have a little bit of content that's like from your phone, and then a little bit that's also, a little bit higher production, just depending on what you're trying to do at the time and what your goals are with the content.
Yeah. And I think that's something that people are very used to now because of COVID, is because people have spent so much time on Zoom that like you can see like high budget stuff, like, I mean, and like news programs very frequently, they don't have like the anchor there necessarily filming people. They just like show like a 360p video clip of someone like talking, and they got some like choppy audio with some subtitles, and people are fine with that. They're like so used to that now. And so like as long as it carries along the story, and then it's even like mixed with like nicer quality content, like that's totally fine to do. Like we've done a few of those types of videos during COVID, is just mixing it in with like content that we'd shot in the past that's like, slow-mo 4K kind of stuff, and it's just mixed with this like extremely low quality video of someone just doing a Zoom interview, but the narrative that they're talking about and like the struggle that they've been going through in this time that's carried through that Zoom interview is compelling and important enough that that is actually like the framework for the entire video. And all the other like higher produced stuff is just, complimentary B-roll extra spice. So
no, that's awesome. And it's kind of having that mixture is good, and it just like gives it more of a well-rounded feel. And I think what I'm noticing is people are more accepting as like of the home being like the backdrop. Whereas I think I come from like the corporate world where people like everything needs to be polished, and like we need to rent out this space so that way the background looks a certain way, so that way we're perceived a certain way. But now I think people are like, oh, actually, like having your home as a backdrop, people are like, okay, that's fine. Yeah, they're a person. They live in a home too. We all live in homes, or the hope is that we all live in homes. But like most people are like, okay, you have a space that you reside in. That's a great background. So I don't know. Have you started noticing that too?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty funny, like how there was like this awkwardness about that, and people kind of had to like explain it or talk about it and stuff. And it's just like, I'm so sorry, like I'm at my house and like I got my dog and it's like freaking out or whatever. But now you don't even have a conversation about that. Like kids will like run through and it'll be like oh yeah, whatever, I don't know, and it's like an extremely important, like high invested, like corporate enterprise, like negotiating things, and like they're all just like casually hanging out. No one's wearing pants.
Yeah, right. I think there's been a couple of viral videos like that of people in job interviews and they're not wearing dress pants below. That's I'm with you. I think it was kind of interesting there in March when we were first hearing stuff. People were apologizing like, oh, sorry, I'm in my my bedroom because the kids are running around the rest of the house. But it's becoming a little bit more commonplace. So it makes it a little bit I think easier maybe on budgets if you can do some more filming at home rather than having to go out to those studios. So that'll be one of the nice things, kind of looking for to the future for video projects.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just the next phase of what's happening with like the video production world. Is it's just constantly being disrupted.
Yeah.
And it's immediately needing to adapt to like whatever the technology is adapted to, and whatever people have as like their own expectations and stuff. So like, while video has never been like this in high of demand, like especially because of COVID, like people are using video so much and they need video so much, but at the exact same time, it's becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper to produce, and like cheaper to hire out to, and like people's expectations for what they pay are getting like lower and lower and lower, you know. So so it becomes like a little bit difficult for people like us who are trying to like make a living this way. But I think like an important way to like adapt that is to not sell them on the big fancy equipment, but sell them on like the expertise of like the strategy of like, this is the message we're going to create, and this is like where we're going to put it, and like this is how we're going to like set it up as part of like whatever it is as part of your process for business. Of course, like that's very different for like weddings and
yeah, those are like kind of
music videos and
one-off
stuff.
things, and there's no, yeah, the wedding, the call to action is just like enjoy it and, you know, be emotionally touched, right? And
Yeah.
whereas, yeah, there is a greater strategy to all of this content, and yeah, hiring someone that has that expertise or can look at it from another angle is a lot better than, yeah, what a lot of people assume is just pressing the record button and going for it. But there is a whole bunch that goes into it, because I think what a lot of people will find is they don't work with a professional, don't work with an expert. They're going to be spinning their wheels, spending resources, spending their own time having to learn the equipment, having to learn how to edit, how to get all this, you know, content to look nice. And at the end of the day, that was time that they could have spent doing something else, unless they're truly like kind of maybe interested or passionate about video. But for the most part, I think for a lot of people, it takes so much work just to be like a talent on the camera, as well as to be like talented behind the camera. So, yeah, having someone else that can take a lot of that load off while you can just focus on speaking well on camera or getting your message across or really thinking about those finer details goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I always try to like offer people advice, you know, just for free. I'm sure you like do too and stuff, but that's what you can essentially say at the end of the day. It's like I swear I'm not trying to upsell you. It's just
Yeah.
in general, it takes a lot of effort, you know. It like editing a video and just filming a video and setting up and putting it out there the right way. It's just like that's a lot of time as well as expertise, and like that can be someone's full-time job. So
Yeah.
it's tough to decide to take that on by yourself, because it can just lead to some lost hours.
Yeah. I know, it's pretty crazy. And then, yeah, it's been interesting that people's perception of video, because it's so frequent, they think, you know, it's really easy to do or that they can do it at scale. I saw like a listing. This company wanted to hire somebody that would create like a video a day for like 260 days. And it's just like, that have the mental capacity to do that, like the diligence, like that. It's just like unrealistic expectations, but it also depends on what, you know, level degree video that they're looking for. Do they even want it edited? But to come up with content that's like, you know, interesting and engaging that many days in a row, I don't know. You can do it if you plan a year in advance, but you couldn't just to do it on the fly daily. That's pretty challenging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what was that, like a local thing or?
I forget what it was. Yeah, it was on like one of those job listing sites. I was just like, this is too ridiculous.
Yeah,
Because
I wouldn't touch that.
Right?
It sounds like great work, but I'm like, oh man, like every day something. Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, it's not easy. By day, I've done like some daily stuff, and by day, I want to say 15. Like it's really kind of we're chugging along. You're like, all right, I guess I'm just trying to get to the end of the tunnel for this thing. But not to say I don't enjoy it, but it is a challenge. I think you got to put in the prep work to do things daily, like on the fly daily, is just very, very challenging. So I think the more prep work you put into a video, you're going to see the results. Like, you know, rather than I don't know if this happens to you quite a bit, but a lot of people have like an afterthought when it comes to video. They're like, oh, we're doing this whole event, and like, oh, now we should bring on the video person, and they like. Or they're like, the event is tomorrow or in 48 hours. You're
Yeah.
like, well, if you would have told me 2-3 weeks ago, we could have like prepared and maybe like got some more like equipment that's going to match what you're trying to go for and think about the brand. But yeah, that would be my recommendation to a lot of people is like, start thinking about like in those initial stages of whatever the marketing project is, like bring the video, like expertise in from the beginning, because the less time you have to work with, just the product is not going to be as quality.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's like I frequently get people that are just like, yeah, we need some video. I'm like, for what? It's like, oh, we're just like doing this thing. We just need some video. And it's like, you know that you're gonna like spend money on video and you don't know what you're gonna do with it. It's like, okay, let's talk about this, you know, because this can go a significant variety of ways. So, or people will like be like, we gotta film these things, and then we'll like film them, and then like afterwards, just like, can we do this with the video? And it's like, no, what? Like that's not what we filmed. But,
Exactly. Yeah. They didn't give you a shot list or anything. It was like, yeah, just make it happen. Just go and do it. And you're like, and then, yeah, that's been the craziest part is when you go out and capture it all and then the expectations somehow changed and you're like, wait, I didn't even know these expectations existed. I mean, that's why you kind of scope stuff out, but I think because video, it's so conceptual, like going into it, like if you have something of a concept, it's going to be so much better of a like end result than it is to try to like hodgepodge it along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Always like first call with anyone. It's always like, let's start from the very end and then work our way backwards. So
yeah.
what do you want to have happen? Like, do you want more clients? Do you want like new employees to like understand how to use something? Like, where exactly are you going to put this? Because I'm going to film it differently. We're going to edit it differently. We're going to have like initial conversations totally differently. This might take 2 days, might take 15 days, depending on like whatever that end product is going to be. So.
Exactly, man. Yeah. It's just, get started early on it and be like, yeah, have a mission in mind with your video. You know, I think that's always a big part. But then, yeah, that's what I think it's good when people hire people like us that like have that in mind rather than someone just saying like, oh, yep, I'll just go and do it. But like, you're just not going to be happy with the end result. And so I think having the forethought in mind of like, hey, what are we trying to go for here is always important. Mm-hmm. Eric, how can people support you? How can the audience like get to know you better? Like what can they do?
Yeah. I'd say like cool thing to do is something we started a few years ago is called Bridge City Entrepreneurs. And we have a Facebook group, and then we have a monthly like meetup group, and recently it's been online as well. But that's just a space for small businesses to come together and not network and not promote to each other necessarily. I actually try to actively discourage that because there's a lot of other great groups for that. But just have a conversation, help each other out, you know, like work through some of these issues of like, hey, you know what? I frankly don't really know what to do about videos. Someone have like some advice, you know, like I actually had a conversation with someone yesterday that was in that group, and there was no talk of like sales or anything like that, but just like, hey, like, what are you working with? Let's figure something out, like next steps. And like, I've gotten a lot of help that way. So I think just being part of that community is like a really great way to get connected. And yeah, Facebook group, Bridge City Entrepreneurs, something we started a little over 2 years ago now.
Wow. That's a really cool like resource you have because yeah, I've been feeling it. I mean, it's a very lonely road as an entrepreneur. So having other entrepreneurs to be able to bounce ideas off of, and I know you guys bring in a lot of great like guest speakers. And not to put you on the spot or anything, but do you know if you're having any events like in November? Because I think this podcast will go out around late October.
It's not, nothing lined up yet for November.
Okay. Yeah, not to put you on the spot.
Couple in like late October. Yeah. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, just everyone go check out the Facebook group, join it. Yeah, that's very exciting. Is that, how did that even come about? Where you, like, is it a similar need where you were like, hey, this is a pretty lonely road. Like it'd be great to get people together. You do it with Hatch, right? Mm-hmm. Is like kind of the main hub. Was it to spring out of the relationship with them, or how did that idea come about?
Yeah, so like a lot of small businesses started out just networking so much, just going to like network after work and your networking universe, important small business network, and just like had like 3 or 4 things lined up a week and stuff. And so so much just like crowded rooms, name tag, shaking hands, you know,
Be
like
forgotten.
micro conversations, yeah. Like get the business card, like, yeah, let's get coffee. And then you don't get coffee because you really don't want to be sold insurance, you know?
Right.
So like, so stuff like that. But then, yeah, I just found that what I really wanted instead was just like a place to just like breathe and say like, all right, cool, like I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna be open, I'm gonna be vulnerable, I'm gonna say like, this is hard, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm like lonely, I'm freaking out a little bit, and I'm also really excited about other things, and I just want to like, share that and work through it with other people who have, like are kind of in the same process. And then have a speaker come in for like half of it that's just like really honed in and become an expert in a specific aspect of business, and sharing that with the group, and then we can all talk to each other about it. So that's been a really, really cool thing to do. I think at first it was honestly like this like idea of like having it be connected to being like a funnel for like new clients for Bridge City Media, but as of like after like the first like the second or third session, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't even want to like have this be part of like my marketing or sales plan. I just genuinely want to show up here, and I just like want to have conversations with cool people. And like I often don't even like tell people that I like do video production when I like do these, you know. So
yeah, I think that's super cool that you've taken it like an approach like that. And I think it shows. It's a little bit more genuine, and yeah, it's not as like stuffy as some of those rooms where you're like, okay, how, you know, there's this many people in here, I need to talk with this many to, you know, close this many or give this out this many cards. It becomes like too scientific, and I'm with you. Whereas like it could be just like a, you know, a melting pot of ideas and collaboration. Yeah, and then a lot of times I hatch. But that's awesome. Well, what else do you think people should know? Just, you know, about video marketing, about Bridge City Media?
Yeah.
Maybe what's your favorite part about the video like process? I know that's always kind of a fun one to think about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love this. I love this job. I love this industry. I love this company. It's so cool to be an entrepreneur doing this work specifically because video marketing, especially right now, can really make or break a company. Hopefully not break, but it can really make a company. And having good messaging that connects with people in the right way at the right time can have a significant impact on how the trajectory of an entire year will be for something. And so my favorite part of what we do is just like having the opportunity to get to know the ins and outs of different industries, because if someone trusts you with advertising for them, you got to know so much about them, and you got to know exactly why people like care about that or don't care about that. And so it's always just such a cool learning opportunity for like any and all projects and any and all businesses and stuff. So like I mean, like today we I like went to do some filming at this like CBD company, and like I just learned like this entire like distillation process that I've like never seen before. Or like, I don't know, just having the opportunity to develop these very like intimate relationships with a lot of these organizations and businesses, and getting to the core of why people care about the things that they do and their passions is just a really awesome place to be.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. Like it is like the most fascinating field. I think what's cool about what we do is we get to see like a lot of other businesses too. You're not just like working with one type of business or whatnot. So you're able to like kind of see what someone else is doing, apply it here. And yeah, video marketing can be like so powerful for like, yeah, getting the message out there and, you know, getting out to the masses, making sure people are checking out your brand, and you know, it's that way you're able to like stand apart. And I think what you mentioned that you guys do really well is that messaging aspect of really honing in on like what it is, like what it means to do business with this company, or what is the heart of why they started the business, all those good things.
Yeah, definitely. And it never I'm sure you're the same way. It doesn't feel good to like create a video that like people don't want to watch or don't see. So, you know, like just from like a personal stance of like taking the time, like, yes, let's make something that like people are going to love and they're going to
something that stands out
and it's going to be important to them. So.
And I think that's what's like, the interesting part about like what we do, where it's like the science part, like art, where, yeah, I think the art part of me, like, yeah, you want it to like get out in the world. You want people to like say like, hey, that was an interesting video, or that made me feel a certain way, or made me think a little differently. Because that's really like kind of the power of video. And like, if you're able to captivate someone's, like, I think a lot of us think of like a documentary that stands out in their mind, or their favorite movie, and like, why did it do that? Because it like emotionally gripped you, or it like maybe even changed the way that you thought about the world. Which is like pretty crazy that like that's possible within a video.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know I've had so many in like my life, and I'm like, if I hadn't watched that video, I'd probably be a different person today.
Yeah. So. I know we got to be, with great power comes great responsibility, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
So as like videographers, yeah, it's like kind of, you know, using the medium wisely, and yeah, providing good experiences for people, and, you know, leaving a positive impact on the world.
Yeah. And I think advertising.
Yeah.
So I was just gonna say, like, advertising is especially so like something I try to be very, very cautious with. In this day and age more than ever. And I definitely pride ourselves on like who we've worked with, and even more so who we've said no to, on like, no, like, do not feel good about helping you get your message across for your product in your way also. So
that's great.
I think I really hope to inspire others to do the same, of like, don't just say yes to promoting something. Be very careful with what actually like this company is doing and how they're doing it, and the messaging that they want to go about, you know, because it takes a lot of tact and responsibility.
Yeah, does it sit well with you? And yeah, I think that's a great message there, like being selective, and putting out information that's helpful for people, putting out, you know, not always necessarily like it has to be like positive, but yeah, thought-provoking, or is moving, I think, I don't know, humanity towards a better place.
Yeah.
Or yeah. Anyway,
just gotta do what we can.
Right. Well, Eric, I appreciate it. Here at the end of the workday, I know you said you were doing work earlier today, so I really appreciate you taking time to come onto the podcast. I think this has been really helpful for people that are wanting to learn more about video marketing, and really getting a better understanding of the true impact that, you know, video can have on their business. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm thankful to be here. So appreciate your time, Brian.
Definitely. And I want to, just to acknowledge you for thanks for, putting together like some of these resources for the community, like Bridge City Entrepreneurs. I know those go a long way, and a lot of the resources that you guys provide. So everyone, please go check out their social media handles, Bridge City Media, and also, find you guys on LinkedIn, Instagram, everywhere. So, all right, Eric, until next time.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Brian.
See ya. Thanks for tuning in to VidMark, a place for all your video marketing needs. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform, and tune in every Thursday morning on either iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and more. For a behind-the-scenes look and some bonus tips, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Until next time, good luck with your video marketing efforts, and remember, always hit the mark. A cactus knows how to survive. It can endure scorching heat, limited rainfall, and defends itself against critters daily. Your business is no different. To survive harsh conditions, it's important to develop deep roots using media content that'll continuously nourish and support your marketing efforts day after day. Tactus Media is here to help you determine a strategy and create media content. Together, Let's map out the next sequence of videos, podcasts, and social media to help your business thrive. Work with Tactus Media. Media tactics that stick. Ouch! Visit tactusmedia.com to learn more.